All right.
Welcome to TYT Sports, everybody. The Packers defeated the Detroit Lions last night, 27-23, after a ridiculous Hail Mary thrown by Aaron Rodgers to Richard Rodgers, the Rodgers to Rodgers connection, for 61 yards. Dan, in terms of wild finishes, in terms of walk-off wins, it's Doug Flutie-esque. I'm trying to think of how. It's not Cal Stanford, right? Because the band wasn't on the field.
Do you know Richard Rodgers, the guy who caught the touchdown? His father was in the Cal game.
Was he really?
Yeah.
And Aaron went to Cal.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
There
It all comes full circle.
But by the way, also Richard Rodgers, a tight end. So they let a tight end catch a 61-yard
He's a big
catch.
dude. He's a big dude.
But he's a tight end.
Well, yeah, they let him get all the way down the field.
Yeah.
Of course.
Look, let's. Okay, we're gonna throw up some shots here. I mean, go through the photos. You'll see them here as we're talking. I mean, it's just tough. Like they really just didn't play proper defense on this play. I mean,
there's 4 Packers in front of 5 Lions, and there's no Calvin Johnson on the field.
Right.
But your hands team.
You got to have your guys up there going to knock it down.
Right.
I mean, he pretty much got both hands on that catch and was able to pull it down, and that's not good.
It looked, and I saw some. Of course, we're going to go through some tweets later on, but there was a lot of reaction to it in which it looked too natural. It looked like they drew this up in practice, and it worked as if this was never going to fail. But
of course, there's no way they could have possibly, because he ran around for like 15 seconds.
Of course. And before that play, though, the reason they had a shot at that Hail Mary was a 15-yard face mask call that Dean Blandino, who's getting a lot of press of recent, he's the head of the NFL Referees Association, in which he said earlier this week that the NFL this year has been no different in terms of making mistakes. It's been an equal amount of overturned calls, and when they review the calls after the games, nothing has changed, even though it seems like we're all critics anyway, that with what constitutes a catch and everything with the referees, that it hasn't changed. That's what he's claiming, at least.
It's a brutal call. It's a brutal call to have made at that point in the game. But at the same time, it's not an incorrect call. It is technically a face mask. It's a brutal call, and it's a questionable call to be making at that point in the game. It's not an incorrect call.
What I agree with is that Blandino said when a guy is even going to graze it and the head turns, a referee is going to call that every time.
Right.
His head turned back. If Aaron Rodgers did a great job at selling it a little bit, then good for Aaron Rodgers. He got the play. But that 15 extra yards is what made that Hail Mary possible. Granted, no offense, Lions fans, but knowing Lions defense, there still would have been 4 Packers in front of him, maybe a quick lateral, and then he would have walked 10 yards into the end zone anyway.
Yeah.
Because that's, oh, God.
Well, that brings up a great point, which we were talking about earlier, is like some teams win and some teams lose. And, we've been talking about this on the show for a while. If you're a Patriots fan, it must be fantastic because you always know you're going to win, even if you're down by 2 or 3. And obviously, I know they lost last week, but
somehow
they had no players left by the end of the game. But 99 out of 100 times, as a Patriots fan, you know you're going to win. Same with Packers.
It's true.
If you're Packers, I mean, yes, you've had bad, luck in the last year or two, especially against Seattle. But that's also because Seattle is a team that wins. So you have 2 teams that win, one team that wins that goes against another team that wins.
I would say historically you've had Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers, all of which have won you Super Bowls.
Right.
So generally speaking, you're going to win.
Right. But then you have Lions, the team, which just finds new and interesting ways to lose every time.
They do.
I mean, when they lost to Seattle earlier this year with Calvin Johnson getting the ball punched out and going over the line and calling a touchback, were you really that surprised?
No,
it's the same as like the Browns fans. It's like the Browns fans after this weekend, like they were upset and they expected. But they expected it almost on some level because certain teams win and certain teams lose. That's just kind of how it goes down. And I can say that as a Clipper fan, in basketball, watching my team lose again and again without knowing why.
Yeah, it has to do. I mean, I don't want to pick on the Lions and Browns fans have been through so much every year that I can't believe I'm saying this, that I'm fortunate to be a Knicks, Giants, and Mets fan. I mean, Giants have gotten me 2 Super Bowls, but the Knicks and Mets haven't done shit for me in 24 years of existence. So I don't want to pick because I kind of understand it as a Clipper fan. You understand it, and there's no reason to be angry. But like what to me is annoying is some of the broadcasters in that game. The Lions, 3-0 in their last 3 games. If they win out, and this team believes that they can win out, no, they don't.
Yeah.
No, they don't. They weren't going 9-7. They weren't going to make the playoffs. And no Hail Mary or not, if they win that game, they're not going to run the table It's the Lions.
Well, look,
it's the Lions.
Bottom line is that game's huge for the Packers, and there was a fantastic internet reaction, as of course there was. So why don't, before you say your favorites and I say my favorites, and we'll take you guys out with some of the best, social media from around the web. We will also have the link to the play below in case you want to watch it. I'm sure you've seen it by now. But what was your favorite tweet or meme?
My favorite tweet, and I'm sorry I forget who it came from, but it's going to come out on your screen now, is the Packers led for 0 seconds and won the game.
Yeah, that was a good one. I also like Calvin Johnson disappearing off the screen.
That was a good one.
We'll put that one
I like the Super Mario version of that.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. But I think my honorable mention was someone tweeted out that Davante Adams was waiting behind Richard Rodgers to drop the ball, which is fantastic. But the all-time greatest, and I'm going to read it from my phone because it doesn't matter. Someone's going to put up a tweet in editing, was from a guy named Possum on the website Deadspin.
Good name.
Who wrote, "That Hail Mary play, I call it the dentist because it killed some lions from long range." That is a comment.
That is the, in New York Magazine, or LA Magazine, that is the highbrow and brilliant section of the approval matrix.
That is
because
pulling a Cecil the Lion joke into the NFL.
Yes, absolutely. Cecil the Lion. It's perfect. It's a 10 out of 10. It's a beautiful tweet. But we want to know what you guys think in terms of the Lions. Some teams win, some teams lose. Where do they fall? If you think they're winners, I'm sorry. Shane Battier basically said it himself. That sums up being 30 years of a Lions fan, because that's what it looks like to be a Detroit Lions fan. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, Browns fans. I know. It's tough. It's tough. But we're here for you, and we always will be. So subscribe to TYT Sports. You can follow the channel at TYT Sports on Twitter. Myself at JasonRubin91 and at Dan Q. Shane?
Dan Kashane.
Dan Kashane. Very nice. Comment below, and we'll see you next week.